Drama surgeon and family man, power courtesy. Life is shattered when thieves break into his house, kill his wife, and send his daughter to the hospital. Frustrated with law enforcement, he seeks vengeance and takes the law into his own hand. Hello, everyone. I'm Caleb Bouget.
I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
And welcome to a new episode of Beyond the Bad. Today, we're talking not about the original film, but the 2018 remake of the revenge action thriller Death Wish, a film that actually spent quite a while in various stages of development, which I will get to in our segment Development Hell, for well over a decade before Eli Roth finally came on board to essentially direct and bring the film to completion. So say what he wrote about Roth, all this film, he fucking brought it to the goalpost. He got it all the way through finally. But unfortunately, or fortunately, if you really hate this film, he did that just for it to bomb horrifically at the box office and be reviled by critics, which means that now I'm going to show it to my partner here, Connor, to both talk about the scores and any thoughts he wants to add at this point.
Sure. As you might know by now, the way we pick the films that go on this show are the Rotten Tomato scores. Anything below 60%, what's considered a Rotten Tomato, is eligible. And then from there, it's just best judgment. The Death Wish remake certainly belongs here. 18% on Rotten Tomatoes. Critics' consensus reads, Death Wish is a little more than a rote retelling that lacks the grit and conviction of the original and also suffers from spectacularly bad timing. And I'm sure you'll get into, do you have anything on what happened when this film was supposed to come out?
Yes. So on the development, I'll go into obviously like how the names, how long this took. I would have a brief mention on like what happened around the time it got released, especially with its first delay. Yeah. And how I do think some of the negativity is stemming from real world issues at the time.
I agree, because the audience score on this is 71%. It's a big leap from 18% to 71. So somewhat there's a disconnect here. It did only make $49 million on a $30 million budget, so way to go. And
71% audience score. You liked it, but then didn't go see it in the theater.
Sure, all those people like the idea. You know what? I might see that. I think there was a lot of that.
It looks like Bruce Willis is trying for once. I might see that.
Yep. Then they got 20 minutes in and were like, oh, no, I wonder what's playing next door. And they walked out.
Actually, I would argue that Bruce Willis is not nearly as bad in this as he is in other films.
I would argue the opposite, but we'll get to that.
I'm not saying he's good. Do not quote me here. I'm just saying, like, I've seen some of his real shit. Like, he's just there paycheck gigs.
Yes.
And this is better than a lot of that. His performance rise.
I was able to watch the original 1974 Death Wish before I watched this one, because I like to, if I'm going to watch a remake, I want to know, like, why is this bad? How does it compare? And frankly, I didn't really get the buzz about Death Wish OG. I thought Charles Bronson was wooden as fuck. He's a great, if you want him to point a gun, awesome. If you want him to act dramatic about his family, you got the wrong guy. And somehow there's 5 Death Wish movies. I don't know how that happened. The plot's pretty basic. He just straight up ignores the fuckers who killed his family. Just like, not my problem. I got other people to worry about. If there was a movie, like, it deserved a remake. It deserved a bit of a reimagining. I wanted to see what somebody else could do with that. And frankly, Eli Roth could have done worse.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, and that's kind of like, I guess, my soapbox moment here. And really, I'll parlay this into like the question I had for you, which is like, your thoughts on the works of Eli Roth and like what he brings to this film. So we're going to just kind of parlay scores with that question as well. As you know, I'm a real big fan of Roth, especially his first 3 films when he was kind of bursting onto the horror scene with Cabin Fever, Hostel 1 and 2 and really doing his thing. And I always kind of talk about him and Rob Zombie in the same line, that like they had these really big hits when they came out, and then it seems like they had all sorts of issues after that. Whereas Rob Zombie, I think, is genuinely just bad luck and some backlash following his 2007 Halloween and then Halloween 2. Roth, I do think, is a bit of a vanity got in his way when he started becoming buddy buddies with Quentin Tarantino. I think a little ego got in the way there. But, he's been making a real attempt at trying to do more mainstream stuff. Obviously, this film that we're talking about, before he did The House with a Clock in Its Walls, the more family-oriented horror film he made. And, the big one that's supposed to be coming out this year, supposedly, is his Borderlands adaptation of the video game. And that's what he's been working on. So he's been really trying to do something, quote unquote, more mainstream, kind of outside the wheelhouse. And I think he kind of I don't know if it's the projects or what, but he kind of hasn't had that luck yet. House with a Clock in Its Walls, I know people that like it. I don't mind it. I think it's a fun little movie. But this one in particular, like I said, I gave him a lot of credit for finishing this film. But a lot of people apparently just went, fuck this movie. And like I said, a 71% score on Rotten Tomatoes, but it bombed at the box office. So where were you people that liked it so much? You just waited for home video? Well, if you liked it enough and you wanted to see another one of these films, sequel to this, you're not getting it now.
I don't think the fuck this movie people threw this under the bus because of Eli Roth. I think they threw it under the bus because of Bruce Willis, because he hasn't been a box office draw since the late 90s. As I said,
Die Hard was a big hit. That was 2000s.
What now?
Live Free or Die Hard was a big hit, and that was 2000s.
Yep, that's Die Hard. That's its own thing.
Yeah, but Good Day Die Hard sucks. Don't even try that.
All right, fine.
And that was the last film we ended that series on, so go on.
My point is, Bruce Willis lost his standards in the divorce, and he never got him back. I don't think he doesn't give a shit. That lack of shit giving translates to the films, and people can tell. They can tell when your actor doesn't care. And if he doesn't care, why should I care?
Mm-hmm.
And Bruce is the king of not giving a shit on camera. Nobody is here for the paycheck more than this guy.
Oh yeah. And like I said, I would argue that because I've seen I want to say I've seen all of his paycheck gigs, but I've seen films where he doesn't give a shit quite a bit now. I think we all have. I would argue that he does a little bit more here. I don't know what Roth did to try to get him to do something. But there's moments when he actually cries during his daughter being in the hospital stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, there's Willis at least trying to act. That but I mean, at the same token, is it anywhere close to when you watch the Die Hard films or you watch Last Boy Scout or any of his early stuff that he did, and you saw him have range and be incredibly charismatic and so much fun, and it's just what happened to that man?
Maybe it was the hair. Back when he was just balding, he wasn't quite entirely bald. He seemed to be a better actor.
Yeah. And I'm sure some people will the divorce, but Demi, he's married already to a chick that's not that much older than some of his daughters. I don't think he's doing that bad for himself.
I think the big thing is he doesn't need the money anymore. He could just stop. He could just retire, give us all a break. He'll be fine.
Yeah, the last best thing he did for me, actual good, was his roast on Comedy Central. that was funny.
I love that. I did when he settled the Die Hard argument of being action movie or a Christmas movie. He's it's neither. It's a Bruce Willis movie. Okay, fair enough.
It's hard to argue that one, Mr. Willis.
Yeah, he's still in there. He's still there. It's just it does not come out very often.
No, not at all. But kind of going back to the question, I know I've made you watch quite a bit of Eli Roth's work. Here's your chance, my friend, to kind of give your thoughts on the illustrious director and producer, because he's produced a lot of shit too. And what you kind of think he was able to bring to this film, coming in so late into production that we're about to talk about.
Okay. So the only film that Roth has directed that I have not seen is The House with a Clock in Its Walls. I haven't seen that. I saw bits of it when I had to work it when I was working at the Alamo Draft House, but I've never watched the entire film. I have seen everything else, and I gotta say, I don't know if I call myself a fan. He's a bit much for me. I like horror movies. I don't like to throw up. You know what I mean? I don't like just sick shit. And there's a lot of sick shit in Eli Roth's movies. I mean, when you took me to see The Green Inferno, and that was a moment where I realized like my best friend might be a serial killer. I gotta watch this guy, because that movie is, I mean, just watching a fat guy get butchered alive and our respective reactions to it, like me cowering, you just chopping away on your popcorn, being like, "This is pretty good." Like, so, that, and then Hostel 1 and 2, watching a guy get his dick chopped off. I mean, he was a bad guy, so it was a bit like, okay, but still. And Cabin Fever has I don't know, something about Cabin Fever just doesn't quite get there for me. I think he's kind of a frat boy douche writer when it comes to like creating characters and stuff.
That's fair.
But he does excel in the gore department. He does want to put his mark on the genre. I think probably he has at this point. And he seemed a good fit for Death Wish, because it is a movie about vigilante justice and just, being as exploitative as possible with violence. Unfortunately, in this climate, with all the various school shootings and mass shootings we got to deal with on a daily basis, people, like to blame films for that shit. And Death Wish coming out around the time of the Las Vegas shooting didn't help. But more on that later. My point is, Eli Roth is an acquired taste, and there are people who love him and there are people who hate him. I am still figuring it out.
I'll give you that. You know me, I'm big. I'm the love from camp. Even though, like I said, I do kind of feel like, and this is in no way like me trying to like put down Tarantino or anything. I do feel like once he became friends with him, there was to me a decline, because he focused more on like, hey, I'm friends with Tarantino.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
It's like, all right, cool, dude. I still want you to make fucking good movies though. Like, I don't care about your fucking friendship there. I don't like. I'm glad you're friends. I don't give a shit. So I do think that's kind of happened, and I will agree that like, yeah, especially if you watch his first couple of stuff, I know like a lot of people that have issues with like his early work and the writing in his early work, about how it represents like LGBTQ community and things like that, because he writes in a very frat boy style in those years, and I won't deny that it's in there, like it's in there. At the same token, it never bothers me. I know I'm trying to say this without digging a fucking hole right now. It doesn't bother me because like in Cabin Fever, he's dealing with college kids and college dudes. And it was, I think, like 2003 when that fucking film came out.
Yeah.
And that's just how people talk. Like, I'm not justifying him, but again, you gotta look at the time period the film came out, what people thought was okay to say versus what we now know is not okay to say, blah, blah, blah.
Well, I have no problem with that. Like, I understand that that's the way that people in this situation would talk. 2003, 2005, that reflects the times.
Right.
My beef is that
he's continued.
No, it's that's the only personality trait these characters have. It's just frat boy asshole. That's all he's got. Like, there's nothing to endear you to these characters. It's just watch them die. And the pancake shit from Cabin Fever, I'll never understand what the fuck that was.
But I will still defend that to this day.
I just don't understand what he wants. What is he trying to do here? It's just, yeah, he's an oddball.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of does with a lot of the films he loves. I mean, he was on an episode of Joe Bob, and for, I think it was Mother's Day movie, I believe is what he was on there for. Was it that Chris Jericho? No, that wasn't Chris Jericho. I'm pretty sure it was him. But you can tell like he's really into that kind of like oddball, like gory stuff and he's trying to replicate that big time with his movies. And yeah, I will say like he's, like I said, and that character trait, that writing is what kind of got like some people to look at his early films would be like, dude, really? I think like he had some issues transitioning out of it because I know there's like a couple lines here and there in Green Inferno, but I think him doing more mainstream stuff like Death Wish and House of Clock and Sparrows Sounds Up in Borderlands, he's kind of finally like he's gotten out of that writing. I mean, able to kind of like do better. Granted, he's not really writing those films; he's just directing them. But in the case of like Knock Knock, I thought that was the case where I thought his writing was at least a little bit better. You could tell he was trying to be more mature with that film. Like I said, I would defend Knock Knock because to me, you're showing that he himself was trying to mature as a filmmaker, like all around.
I'll give you that. Knock Knock is, more psychological. I like that. I do like that, he is trying to grow. And his films aren't terrible. They're just, I don't know if it's stuff I'd go back to. It's like I've seen Cabin Fever, I've seen Hostel. I can move on. Like I'm not buying them. They're not in my collection.
Oh, they're in my collection.
I know.
I've gone back to them numerous times.
And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
But yeah, Eli Roth. And very, he's made his mark. I would say he's kind of divisive in the genres of how people feel about his characterization and his writing and a lot of his early stuff, which is kind of funny that I always put him and Rob Zombie together, just same fucking thing with Rob Zombie, it seems. People are so fucking divided on how they feel. And again, I fall in the love camp on that one. But that's for whenever one of his movies pop up on either one of these shows. With that out of the way, let's dig in to this goddamn production history and to kind of touch on the shootings and stuff like that as well. Okay, here we go. Starting off in 2006. The genesis of when this started. Action icon. Let me start out with that. Icon of action cinema, Sylvester Stallone, announced he would be directing and starring in a remake of the original Death Wish. The biggest thing he talked about and the difference in his version of the film was that he would be a cop that's had incredible success but has never used his gun. So that when the point happens when his family gets murdered, essentially, it would lead to a moral dilemma of him having to now actually decide to use his gun to get that revenge. That was like his big hook for the film. This went nowhere as it would as he cited creative differences and a very busy schedule because back in 2006, good old Sly was on the rebound in his career, I believe, if I remember my dates are good here. But he was on the rebound and he left the project.
It's weird because Stallone seems tailor-made for Death Wish. I mean, he's almost like Charles Bronson reincarnated. I mean, it just makes sense. But, Rocky Balboa was a call-in, and I like that movie. So maybe he made the right call.
Yeah. I mean, at that time, with like I said, with Balboa, and then not too long after that, Rambo kind of coming out and kind of cementing him back as an action icon, I would have definitely kind of been interested in what he would have done with this. But at the same token, I want to say right now, I've seen some stuff he's done outside, like Rocky Balboa, Rambo, and and the first two Expendables, and they're not very good films. So even when he came back, he was still making some pretty shit stuff. He would show interest again, though, not too long after Rambo in 2009, but that would never happen. He expressed interest, nothing happened again, though, about that. Until 2012, and Joe Carnahan was announced to be writing and directing the film. This time, wait for this one, this time it would star Liam Neeson, and at the time, I believe an unknown Frank Grillo.
Neeson, no. Grillo, 100%. Like, this could have been a great vehicle for him. But, I mean, is this any different than Taken if Liam Neeson's here?
Yeah, and that's why I say, like, you've had Joe Carnahan. He's worked with Grillo numerous times now. And him writing directing with, I would say, like, yeah, take out Neeson and have Grillo starring. I think we would have had something real good on our hands.
Yeah, I agree. Could have been a franchise. Because Joe Carnahan's one of those filmmakers who keeps trying to get some big shit started, but never quite gets it. The A-Team, Boss Level. He is such a good filmmaker, but he never can quite get off that first step. It's weird.
Yeah, it's really weird, and it's funny because people watch stuff and go, "Oh, I really liked it." And I'm like, "Well, apparently not enough to warrant them being able to do more."
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that would have been interesting. Well, not all was lost at Conahan though. As far as like, or at least directing rights, it was all lost, but writing rights not all lost. I do agree with Liam Neeson's 2012. That would be after Taken, well after Taken. When he was doing a sea of like Taken but on a train, Taken but in a foreign, like it was just like the same fucking plot line and copy pasted.
He is always a ex-agent of some sort who is either divorced or widowed, who needs to go after hardcore gangsters to save a family member, a friend of a family member, some kid he just met, something. He made that movie like 15 times.
Yeah. So I don't think it would have worked with him in the lead. It just would have felt like, oh, we're just doing another one of these fucking Liam Neeson post-Taken actioneers. Cool. Okay. Well, as we all know, this version will not come to pass because in 2013, a year later, Carnahan left due to the most famous two words in Hollywood, creative differences. Strikes again. Ultimately, the only thing he got out of this was a sole writing credit for the completed film. So from here on out,
so he wrote this screenplay in 2013, and then they just took it off the shelf, didn't rewrite it, anything, just used that.
Yep. Oh, I'm about to get to why they didn't rewrite it.
Okay.
Yes, because now we're going to have come and going directors and stars, but writers, essentially, they locked it in with this script. So before we get to the next set, the ones that we have that ultimately stayed with this film, there was a quick float with a director known as Gerardo Naranjo. I'm so sorry if I butchered that last name. It's a Hispanic last name. I don't know this guy. He had no credits I could fucking find. He was on director, and are you ready for this name, Connor?
Yeah.
Benicio del Toro starring.
I can get behind that.
After seeing Sicario, I can definitely get behind that.
I wish that had happened.
That would have been badass. I think Benicio could have fucking owned this role.
You're not wrong. I mean, Jesus Christ. Well, and then on the other hand, though, maybe if he had done this, we wouldn't have gotten Sicario. So trade-off.
Yeah, and I haven't seen the sequel yet to Sicario, but I do really like the first movie.
Day of the Soldado is pretty shit, gotta say.
I think that's why I stayed away. I remember seeing the trailer for it and going, I didn't want a sequel.
It doesn't need a sequel. It's so confusing. Yeah,
I was watching going like everything. I was like, first off, it has like half the cast I enjoyed. So the first one's like, it has Emily Blunt, it has fucking John Berthel pop up in it, freaking Josh Brolin, Benicio del Toro. I was like, this is a fucking great cast. So obviously with the first name, everyone knows my crush, but she is a good actress nonetheless. So I remember just really liking it, and everything was solved in the movie. So when they announced the sequel, I was like, why?
Yeah, just one of those things. And I think, the first one was Denis Villeneuve, who did not do part two. So there's a tonal shift, like completely. It's a mess.
Yeah, I'll stay away from it. I will say, like, I do like that Villeneuve movie. Sicario was like a fucking awesome movie that he did. I'll give him credit for that. Regardless of how I feel about some of his comments or, deeming me incredibly overrated. But going back to the movie at hand, this version, as we know, would never come to fruition. I could not find a reason why. I'm just going to say creative differences probably struck again.
Oh, dude, the crazy thing about that, like how quickly a project can die in Hollywood, just by like maybe that Hispanic director looked at a producer wrong at a party once, and he's just like, "We're not making this movie." It could be that petty. It's wild how any movie makes it to fruition in Hollywood is kind of a fucking miracle.
Oh yeah, I last week, since I know we just had Texas Chainsaw Massacre week, Blaze Discussing posted an article. They were interviewing Adam Marcus. For those who don't know, he directed Jason's Dead, Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, and he actually wrote the original screenplay for Texas Chainsaw 3D. Now, in the case of Jason Goes to Hell, he did an interview on the Movie Crit where he set the record straight, saying, "I did what I could." He goes, "But I was a 21, 22-year-old director," and Sean Cunningham came up to him and said, "I don't want the fucking mask in this movie." He goes, "The first thing Sean Cunningham told me was like, get rid of the fucking mask." Cunningham literally set him up for failure for that movie right off the bat. And then when everyone acted the way they did about the movie, instead of Cunningham taking the blame, he directed it all to Adam Marcus.
Why wouldn't he want the mask? That's Jason's whole thing. Like, why would you want to cut that out?
Because, and this is how I learned a lot more about Sean Cunningham, Adam Marcus straight up admitted, no fucks given, that Cunningham doesn't like horror movies. He doesn't like the Friday the 13th franchise, and he hates horror fans, basically. He has zero care for any of this shit. It just makes him money.
But he's not going to make money if we don't see Jason. Like, that's the whole point. That's the whole reason this franchise makes money.
Yeah, I know.
Jesus Christ.
And he's using all his money to fight a stupid legal battle instead of coming to an agreement so he can keep getting money. But the problem is he's the type of guy that he doesn't even want a little bit to go away. He wants all of it.
Can somebody just give this guy like $200 million to fuck off? Like, it's New Line, right? Who makes
New Line? Well, New Line, I want to say, owns it now. So any feature films would have to go through them, and Platinum Dunes. I don't know how Platinum Dunes works with these companies, because I know they did the 09 remake. So I don't know how they work with these companies.
Well, I know New Line and Michael Bay, I'm sure, could scrounge up a sizable amount to just pay Cunningham to fuck off. And that would be nice.
Yeah. It definitely look, I have you know me, I have the Friday 13th set, I have the documentary I'm supposed to Never Sleep Again. Crystal Lake Memories. I have that documentary also. So and Cunningham, obviously he's plastered on it because he's the fucking producer. But ever since I listened to that interview, it's hard for me to when I see him talk about franchise, I'm like, you fucking cock. Like, you hate this, and yet you're sitting there gladly talking about it because it gives me money. I get money out of it.
God, it's like a kid trapped with an abusive stepdad. We got to save Jason. Somebody has to save Jason.
You really do. That's why you were hearing, before it went to legal into court, that's why you were hearing so many different fucking ideals being thrown out about a new Jason film. Like, oh, they're going to do this. Oh, this director came and went, because they were literally rushing because they knew the court case was about to happen. So the company was like, let's rush and try to get a movie out so we can get them a Friday the 13th movie. If we don't do it, it's going to be a fucking hot minute.
Oh, Jesus. That's unfortunate. Anyway.
Yeah. But that, and then I forgot the point, but also in the case of Adam Marcus, I was going to say my point of him writing the Texas Chainsaw. I forgot how we got here, but moving on. Oh yeah, the producers you were talking about.
Yes.
Okay, yes, I believe it because, so Adam Marcus did a full thing where he talked about his script with Blaze Gusling for Texas Chainsaw 3D. And he made the comment that like you said there, right, a certain director, something pisses him off and next thing the movie shut down. They didn't name the producer during the thing to give you an idea of already the stance they were taking on this. We're not even going to name him. But apparently the producer lied and cheated them every step of the way. At one point, they said they wrote, by the way, the original script they wrote, you really don't see it in the movie. So before you say well, they wrote a shitty movie anyway, most of what you saw was not in their fucking script in the final film. What they got actually got a lot of attention. And they made a comment, they're like, it got a lot of attention. We were getting phone calls from our companies about doing this and that. They liked our script. They wanted to go forward with our script. The producer found a way to make it where it came off like his ideal and get them out of it. And, eventually got found out because at one point someone ratted him out saying, hey, you're trying to change his name to say, blah, blah, on the stream. Wait, what the fuck's going on? And, got caught. But, he still found ways to fuck them over. So, yeah, it doesn't, because things he made the comment, the do your thing cuz that gets mocked so much. He's like, that wasn't in my fucking script. He's like, I did not write that. He's like, I did not write a fucking Chicago person saying, welcome to Texas, motherfucker. He's like, so I'm not going to get the state of Texas on my ass for that. Like,
oh God.
Like I know Marcus, man, if you ever want like a fucking candid motherfucker when it comes to like, hey, look, like he'll gladly own up to anything he did do, but he'll be quick to be like, that wasn't my fucking fault, and this is why. Like he's awesome. So yeah, that's why I say that. I brought that up because your producer thing, that's why it scares me with like producers and stuff like that. And why I'm glad we have companies like Blumhouse. And I know we've made our comments about how we feel about A24 as a whole, but even like the A24 guys, that they are, to me, what producers should be, in that they're not letting petty things stop them or get all this credit. They're just like, yeah, man, we'll support your movie. We'll fucking market it. We'll make sure your movie gets out there and you do your thing. And guess what? I'm going to pay you and leave you alone.
Yeah. Producers should finance a project they believe in and just let it happen. It's, yeah, I'm just picturing like, you know, Cunningham telling the guy like, hey, no mask, no Jason. I'm just picturing him like different producer going up to Marcus for Texas Chainsaw and being like, no human mask face, no chainsaw.
Just keep doing that to him.
Can't be in Texas, no chainsaw. Just what the fuck do you want?
There is definitely not going to be a massacre in this goddamn movie.
Oh, it's what they do, though. It's like they're trying to sabotage this shit. It's like the producers, you know, if you somehow manage to create something that's shit, you get the payday from like betting on the other side. I'm sure there's some of that going on.
That's the other thing that fucked them over with Texas Chainsaw. He said they had wrote like a $40 million movie or something like that, because that's what the producers told them they would have. And then he came back like after they finished and went, we had to cut all this shit. And they're like, why? It's like 20 or 8 million or something like that. He did not even get nearly half of what he promised them.
What the fuck?
And so like he said he had like the whole carnival scene you see in the movie. He's like, dude, the way it was written, like Leatherface was going to fuck those people up. He goes, that was going to be like a legit massacre scene in the movie. And you know, we got what we got in the final film, which I think just kind of runs through it real quick. Because he's like, they fucking cut our budget. We couldn't do anything with it anymore.
That sucks. Like, but don't these producers realize that by hindering these films, they are going to make no profit off this thing? They're shooting themselves in the foot. Why don't they realize that?
Because they don't care. They don't care. I mean, look, Cunningham. I mean, I cannot tell you what, like, because I don't know what mindset you have being until a first-time director in their 20s, and they get handed the keys to like the 9th Friday 13th film, and the first thing you tell them is, I don't want that fucking hockey mask in this movie. That's like, wait, what?
At least Netflix saved Bubba, but somebody's got to save Jason. And I don't even know what the fuck's happening with Freddy, but help him out too.
Well, that's an estate thing with Freddy. Estate's being particular about who takes Freddy next.
Give it to the Scream guys. They clearly know what they're doing with Craven's properties.
Scream or Elijah Wood's company.
Yeah, definitely. But, anyway, this is a nice tangent.
I was always like on these tangents. Back to this one though. After this quick flirt, I mean, this was like the quickest 5-second of flirts. The script would lay dormant for 3 fucking years, just shelved for 3 years. March 2016 rolls around. MGM, I guess, dusted it off and announced directors Heron Cashalis and Navat Papuchado. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering these names. I've never heard these people. Would be directing, with Bruce Willis set to star. If you want to see the insane fucking cast list of shorthands they had, get on fucking Wikipedia. They had like Ron Perlman, I think even Tom Cruise. Like it was an insane. It was like a who's who of like, if they've been in at least one action film, we're going to try to get them into this film.
There are like 12 people here who would have been better than Bruce Willis. Like maybe no to Christopher Lambert and and maybe like drunk ass fucked up Michael Biehn, but everybody else I think could have been really good.
yeah, I was thinking about typing some names up, and I was like, no, because I was looking at that list, and I was like, gee, this Christ on these names.
Yeah, it's quite a significant list of who's who of iconic action stars.
Yeah, I am pulling it up right now just so I can read off some names to you,
Yeah.
lovely folks, to get an idea. Okay, here we go. We're looking at, and okay, in this first one, in his prime, guys. So before we all say he's fat now, okay, I get it. Russell Crowe, Matt Damon, Will Smith, which probably would have happened nowadays. Fucking Snake Plissken himself, Kurt Russell, Michael fucking Keaton, Harrison Ford, Don Johnson, Stephen Lang, who I actually would have gone, if you couldn't get Bruce Willis, I would have 100% backed Stephen Lang. He would have killed it. Tommy Lee Jones, which I actually don't think would have done a good job at all. And this one got me. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, because I don't in Chicago. No,
That's why that one stood out. I'm like, that one, no.
I think honestly, Don Johnson would have been a great choice. I just
see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can. You got to play family man and vigilante, and a lot of these guys are just able to pull off the vigilante part, or too expensive.
Yeah, I think Stephen Lang could have pulled off both, honestly. But Don Johnson, because I watched his Watchmen show he was in, where he was like a family man, but then also was like, it gets revealed later he was a KKK member, but or some show like that, some like racist thing like that. They used a lot of metaphors in that show to go watch. Very fucking deep show.
Yeah,
way deeper than it had any right to be, but also not bad. So I can see him doing it. Like a lot of these names, like just because of I love these two. Kurt Russell, Monkey, I would have backed any day of the week.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, bring them two on. Like
Kurt's the man. He can do no wrong, in my opinion. And I want to just set the record straight here. Russell Crowe got fat for Unhinged, which I thought was a decent flick. So give the man a break. He got chunky. He made Unhinged, and then the pandemic happened. So yeah, no one's getting in shape during a pandemic. Let the man cut him a break.
Yeah, I just had to say that because I know some people are like, really, Bruce? I don't know about because I'm looking at Bruce Willis's name. Really, Russell Crowe? He's fat now. I'm like, okay, but like you said, you got fat for a while. I'm sure you would have lost it. It's not like the case of Brendan Fraser, which I just think, unfortunately, he's going to stay that size and he doesn't care. You know what? I don't care because I love Brendan Fraser that much. I'm glad he's happy with himself.
I'm okay to, as long as Brendan Fraser's in a good place, I'll take a chubby Firefly. I don't care.
I'll take it. I've been watching Doom Patrol. He's fucking hilarious. But I really like. I remember when I was writing the script and I was looking at I was like, God damn! I did not realize like how many names were attached. And somehow out of all that, we got Bruce Willis, and not in his prime Bruce Willis, which is the disappointing part. But this was all in March. Okay, by May, not that long, the directors would leave, but this time not the blanketed creative differences. This was openly stated to be because MGM refused to let them rewrite Carnahan's script simply because Bruce Willis approved it. And that was apparently how they got Bruce Willis to agree to the movie.
Why try so hard to secure this guy? Like, you've got options. I'm sure people who'd be much more agreeable to work with. I feel like Kurt Russell would be awesome to work with.
Yeah, I'm sure like Kurt Russell, Michael Keaton wouldn't give him two shits if the script got changed a bit. Stephen Lang wouldn't have cared. Don Johnson,
these guys.
Even Brad Pitt would have been like, yeah, whatever works for the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like some of these guys aren't going to complain because they need the work. Other guys are just happy to be here. Other guys are like, I get to be in a Death Wish movie. Fuck yeah. Bruce Willis is like, I'm here, and I'm the most important part of this movie, so I say what goes, and that's just fucked up.
Yeah, I've quickly learned it's no surprise that Bruce Willis has gotten quite the ego. I quickly found that one out. Probably the biggest moment for me realizing that was when I heard about Expendables 3 and how I think he was on there. He's supposed to be on there like for 4 days, and he was going to get $3 million total, and he got pissy because he's like, no, I want $4 million, $1 million a day, and I guess he attempted to put Stallone in like an ultimatum about it, and Stallone, oh yeah, he told him like, you either do this, you either give me what I want, or you fire me. Stallone in the same fucking day, and you know what? You go, Sly. You fucking man, you. He fired him and hired Harrison Ford all in the same day.
That's fantastic.
Harrison Ford was like, how much? 3 million, 4 days? Got it. Let's go.
Harrison Ford's like he's the anti Bruce Willis. He also does not give a fuck, but he will try every single time.
Yes.
He's here for the money just as much as Bruce Willis is, but he also gives a damn about his legacy and wants to deliver quality work. And I appreciate that.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like that was apparent when he came back to do Star Wars. Like he came back after saying like, I never want to do this character because he's not exactly fond of Han Solo. But he agreed. He's like, and he gave it his all. And his only fucking demand, I don't even think it's that outrageous, was like, you have to kill me off.
Yeah. And even then, 2 movies later, he comes back as a ghost. It's like,
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, like even then, if I was able to be like, that's really not the worst man, I think we can write that into the movie somehow. Like,
but even with that, all Ford had to do was show up. He could have demanded, like, I don't want to say any lines. I will just walk on screen, like, because he knew they needed him.
Mm.
Instead, he's like, this is the swan song of Han Solo. I'm going to do this right. And he delivered maybe the best performance of Han Solo in the whole damn franchise.
Yeah.
So, yeah, props to Harrison Ford. Good for him.
Yeah. Or someone like, I know it's not Ford, but like, you know, very recently with Willem Dafoe in the new Spider-Man. And when I heard about his demands, I'm like, that's actually like really reasonable. Like it's his way of saying like, if you do this, I want to do it and I want to do great for you guys. Yeah. And it showed him the finished product.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, he like supremely eclipsed his performance in the first Spider-Man movie. I mean, he's terrifying in No Way Home. And yeah, I love actors who like, you know, sure, it might be for the check, but they're not going to let that like, you know, curb their performance. And I respect that.
Yeah. And I think because like, to me, it's so hard for me when like these actors want to do paycheck gigs and they don't give a shit and they act like they just hate it so much. And I'm like, I can't sympathize with you because you go home to your fucking Hollywood mansion at the end of the day. So either fucking get over yourself and give me a good performance, because that's your job, is to give me a good fucking performance to get behind. Or if you hate it so much, be smart with your money and find a way to not act anymore. Do behind the scenes stuff, run your production company, cash in on those investments. Like, you can do it, but stop. Like in Rose's case, stop doing all these low rent films where you don't give a shit, because it's just annoying to watch, dude.
I know, it's frustrating. I wish he would just start up like Spruce Productions or some shit and then like do a new Die Hard franchise with some other asshole that he's not involved in, but he finances. I'm kind of tired of seeing him in front of the screen, because I know he's fucking tired of being in front of the screen.
Yeah, he does not like it. But that's what happened here in this movie. Willis approved the script, so they were like, well, we're not going to change it. And they were like, well, it's a fucking 3-year-old script, so bye. Directors left. They're like, fuck you. It's a 3-year-old script. It needs to be rewritten, but you won't do it because you're a star later.
Was that a smart move? Because like you said, you'd never heard these guys' names before.
No, it was a terrible move, if you ask me.
Yep.
A horrendously terrible move. But at the same time, with how this film kind of like came and went, I don't think either move would have been fine. I think the only reason Eli Roth got away was because he was an already established name. People knew who he was. He had his hands in her shit. He has the friendship of Tarantino. I mentioned that he just loves to fucking shower around.
To be fair, if I was friends with Quentin Tarantino, I would never stop pulling that card. I get it.
God damn it. All right. With that said, speaking of Roth, finally, of all these directors I named, the following month, took them a whole month, Roth came in to direct, and he ultimately brought this film to completion. No, at this point, once he came on board, there were no production issues, nothing. They were able to film it, get it out. The only last snafu they had. The film was originally dated for November of 2017. Now, notice I said 2018's Death Wish. That is because they had to delay it into 2018. I believe it was March, somewhere around that time, somewhere around there, because of the unfortunate Las Vegas shooting that happened. At least that's the rumor. It actually has not even been confirmed that was why they did it. It's just been rumored for years now. And unfortunately, if that was the case, I'm sure it was, it did not work in their favor anyway, because ultimately, even when it came out months removed from the shooting, it would get reviled by critics. I want to say audiences because it bombed, but apparently 71 fucking percent blows my mind. Where were you at the theater? Whatever. And it just quickly disappeared. And to this day, you know, if you like, you were kind of, I think you brought it briefly with the reviews, and we'll talk more about it here. The critics in particular never really seemed to talk about the film or the content or why they didn't like it, but they went in hard about the film's usage of guns and stance on gun violence and how this is ill-timed. So even delaying it 2018, like they did, still didn't fucking work in their favor, because from what I'm gathering, the critics still fucking went in hard on it on that. Audiences, it's actually probably why they didn't go to the theater, because they didn't want to see that type of thing, yet they watched it at home, whatever. And I'm starting to feel like that is the reason why. I'm going to open the floor to you about like this, and essentially kind of like, I guess, like we said, talk a little about like blaming the movies, the age-old discussion.
I think it's ridiculous to say to pull ill timing into this film being bad, almost like they were planning to release this on the day of a shooting, like that was intentional. It's not how it works. It's not the film's fault. The guy didn't go see Death Wish and be like, oh, I got to do that shit to a bunch of people in Vegas. That's not what happened. I am a firm believer in that art has nothing to do with real life violence. It's 100% a mental illness problem. It's a society problem. Look at you. You have watched some of the most fucked up shit I have ever thought about. And as far as I know, you've never killed anybody.
I like how you say that like you don't know.
That's called like, plausible deniability, and that's my way of keeping myself safe if this ever gets played in a courtroom.
Oh my God.
My point is, you're saying it's got, these movies aren't driving you to like fulfill dark urges because they don't exist in you, because that's not how it works. If that's how it works, why aren't there so many more crazy people in this country whenever a film like, I don't know, Die Hard makes, $500 million? Why isn't it followed immediately by a giant surge of murder?
Right. Or when the first Saw came out, why wasn't there a surge of fucking people being put into elaborate death traps?
When the new Doom game came out, where was the fallout? It's not how it works. It's a bullshit argument. It's people who refuse to look inward at themselves and address serious mental illness problems we have in this country. So I don't blame the work one at all in any capacity. I never have.
Yeah, no, I am with you. I've never, before I go talking about the movie first itself, and then I'll talk about like how I feel, especially like you said, me being a big horror fan, I have a lot of feelings on this, because I've been quite attacked, and not just for that, but also for my love of heavy metal music. So it's like I get fucking attacked for two different things I love and adore, but whatever.
You straight up fit the profile.
By society standards, yes. As I walk around with a sleeve of horror movie characters on my arm too. It's great. Yep.
And you're white, that doesn't help.
No, and I'm bald, so for some people that's a scary fucking factor.
Oh, Jesus.
God, I'm not helping my case right now. No, like he said, in the case of this film, yeah, it's not like they set that November date thinking there's going to be a shooting on that date and we are going to cash in hard on that. No, they set that date because they're like, that's when the film's going to be completed. That's an open slot for us to release it. We think it'll do good there.
And on the other side of the coin, it's not like the Vegas guys like, I can't wait to fuck up Death Wish's release by killing all these people.
Yeah. It's like, oh, no, I'm going to mess up that release. Fuck Eli Roth. And I doubt that was the case. Like, it was just unfortunate timing. And yeah, like you said, like blaming the film and trying to say like, you know, going after the film for its messaging on guns. Like, look, I'm a firm stance that like you said, like if you're going in and watching this film, right, and you think I can't wait to do that in real life, there is absolutely something wrong with you as a human being. Like there is a mental issue that needs to be addressed or needs to get in jerks who might be, you know, potential psychopath, serial killer in the works here. So that is 100% a you thing. And I think kind of going now bigger with this, with like how horror's been attacked, you know, especially obviously when we did our top 10, right, I kind of talked about my love for the early 2000s horror films. That's when I was like really finding it. A lot of those films get attacked because of how graphically violent they are and in your face, right? And how can you put this film on? And what does it do to the youth of America? I fucking hate hearing that. You hear it in metal too all the time. How can you guys listen to bands like Cannibal Corpse with a cover on the album of two dead people performing cunnilingus? Like, how can the youth of America see something like that? Look,
the youth of America are doing that.
Yeah,
that's a start.
Yeah, they are. Like you said, this country has such. I'm not even gonna say this. I'm sure other countries have the same fucking problem. It's not just like an America only thing. Where instead of looking at, you know, what is wrong with this person mentally, taking mental health issues a lot more seriously, they go, fuck that, we're gonna blame this. And say that they should be watching what they put in that thing. And what scares me about that, you know, and especially kind of, I guess, making this timely with how some people feel about fucking shit going on in politics nowadays, and when you fucking into that. But one of the things I always hear, right, from the ultra right, especially, is the fastest, blah, blah, blah. There's nothing that screams that more than blaming the media for something and saying we should censor it.
Yep. There's nothing's more fascist than fucking censorship. I believe that 100%. But these people don't ever look inward at themselves. They don't ever have that, like, maybe I'm the fucking problem moment of clarity. It doesn't exist with these people.
Nope. And look, check this out. Even if, let's say, I know I'm saying like it's a mental issue. Let's say you're like me, right? And you love this shit. Let's say if I ever get married and have kids, right? The responsible thing I would do as a parent is to make sure that I've talked to my children about like what you see on screen is fake. It's not real. What you see in video games is obviously fake. It's not real. I was like, so you can enjoy this by all means. There's nothing wrong with enjoying it. But you do not replicate this in real life. There are consequences to that. You know, and that's where I think I get annoyed at. It's stop blaming the media, because the media, not in the media, but like the entertainment industry, they're not your parent. They're trying to make entertainment for you. Be a parent.
Yeah, that's another, big thing I don't like, when people try to pass the buck, when they don't want to talk to their kids about, violence or homosexuality or sex or like anything that is a difficult conversation. They try to act like, if they stop playing Doom, they'll stop asking these questions, or they won't think like that. Or if they stop watching, it's horror movies are the problem. That's bad parenting. It's your job to prepare these kids for life. And if you're not going to do that, you're a shitty parent. And we all can tell, by the way. We can always tell who are the shitty parents.
Like thing on the video game front, I used to get, it's finally calmed down now, but I remember for a while, especially with Grand Theft Auto, you hear stories about like parents wanting to sue because they brought, they went to GameStop, bought Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, which, by the way, folks, is rated M for mature. If you look at the back of the case, it'll tell you exactly why it's rated that in really big words. And they take it home and are appalled at what the fuck their kid are playing. They're like, sue, because we didn't know the content was in there. And it is their job to make sure that kind of stuff's on the game and that it should be known. I'm like, no, it's your job as a parent that when you go to something like GameStop like when you used to. I know people get shit digital nowadays, but when you go there and you buy a game for your child, especially like let's say it's Grand Theft Auto or fucking God of War. I'm talking the ones that you could do the sex mini games in before they got more mature with 2018's God of War.
Good times.
Yeah, I know the good old days. But when you see that's rated M, turn the goddamn box to the back. Because unlike movies that will sometimes just have like the rating slapped on there, but then not tell you why, because they can have a little more leeway as long as the rating's there, really. Games, they have to have the rating, first off, on both sides of the case. And on the back, it has to say exactly why it's fucking rated. It's probably ASRB rules.
Yeah.
Flip it to the back and read it. If you see things like, if it just says language, violence, and blood, you're like, okay, that's fine. Right? But if you sit there and go like, oh my God, nudity, graphic, sexual, nope, put it back. Be a parent. If you don't want your kids to see it, put it the fuck back and be like, no, you're not playing it here. Now, what they do outside of their house.
It's not society's job to raise your damn kids. It's yours. There's my 2 cents.
Yeah. No, I play video games, but same thing with movies. Like, should exist for a reason. And to, like, kind of bringing it back to Death Wish, have critics go so hard and blame this, it's just utterly insane to me.
Well, and also, like, looking into the backstories of these shooters and these killers and these crazy people, it's never Saw or Doom or Death Wish or, you know, Grand Theft Auto that causes this. It's the hyper-controlling psycho parents who manipulate the fuck out of their kids and turn them into these monsters. That's where it always comes from. All this shit always starts in the same place, like in the home. So honestly, if you wanted your kid to succeed, leave him the fuck alone for a bit.
Yeah, look, I watched all of the horror films as a kid. I was watching those 2000 horror films, having all that Hills Have Eyes, Devil's Rejects, violence, and in a lot of cases rape, because I forgot there was a lot of rape during that period of horror, mainstream horror.
Yeah.
Thrown into my face. I played fucking Grand Theft Auto at my buddy's house all the time. Love and metal, you know, Slipknot's People Equal Shit was my jam. And yet, here I am today, perfectly fine. I may have given up on humanity a little bit, but I'm fine.
Yeah, you're fine. Everyone else has gotten all fucked up, though, which is hilarious. Maybe getting raised on a diet of heavy metal and horror movies has made you a better person.
Yes. With a
I think there's an argument there.
With a heaping dose of Dr. Pepper running through my veins.
Yeah.
Which is what I've been drinking this whole time, and I just finished it, actually.
Yeah, you got the heart of a fucking Texan.
Grand old state of Texas. All right.
Yeah. Point is, Death Wish had nothing to do with the shooting. The shooting had nothing to do with Death Wish. That ill-timed bullshit is just a way for people to try to virtue signal and say, you know, shootings are bad, and this movie has violence, so that's bad. Okay. Like, no correlation.
Yeah. Nope. And mind you, it's the only film they attacked in 2018. Let's not forget the fact that Hereditary came out the same year, and you see in like the first 30 minutes a main character's head on the side of the road. Like, for Christ's sakes, that didn't get attacked.
Yeah, they didn't suddenly come after, like, you know, this movie's glorifying car accidents or some shit like that. Like, it's just, you know, you pick your battles, and we never pick the right ones.
No, we don't. We pick the ones that make us have to backtrack way later.
I think, you know, Death Wish was not a great movie. I didn't think it was terrible, but I'm sure, you know, Bruce Willis's phoned in performance and the fact that it's pretty much the same movie and doesn't really stand out. That's why it should have failed the box office, not because anybody was connecting it with a tragic real life shooting.
Yeah, I'm with you. It should have definitely, like, if you're going to attack this film, be it for like the fact that, yeah, like I said, I don't hate Bruce Willis as much, but it's still not a great performance from Bruce Willis that we know he's capable of. It, you know, Eli Roth to me like merely finishes the film, but it seemed like he wasn't able to do a lot to make it stand out. He did his best, and that overall, this is like a fine film. If anything, like it's a fine movie. It has elements I'm not that into, but it also has a lot of stuff I do like. It's fine. You know, it's okay.
Yeah. It's not the worst film we've done on this show so far, but, you know, it's not the best. I still think the best overall movie experience that I've had on this show so far is Doom. But I'm sure that'll change.
I don't know why, but I thought you were going to say Dukes of Hazzard.
It's up there. It's close. It's very close. Like, I don't know.
It's not for a minute like Jessica Simpson's Daisy Duke was going to encroach on your mind and be like, "Yep, Dukes of Hazzard."
Semper Fi, motherfucker. Faithful to the core.
Only got one shot.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, you can take either one of those. But my point is, for a bad movie podcast, this is not that terrible.
Yeah, it's something that like if you were to put it on, I won't complain. Yeah, I'll just be like, oh, okay, and then I'll fucking sit there and watch while playing on my phone. It's fine.
Yeah, it's background noise. That's if it's on HBO and nothing else is on, I'll put it on, lower the volume, and do something else.
Yeah, my body won't hurt at the thought of it being on my TV.
Whereas, like Island of Dr. Moreau, I'm shutting that shit down immediately.
I'm going to shut it down, and if someone put it on, I will kill them. I know we just had a big talk about this, but I will murder.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I know we just really dove into like production and kind of like our stance on how we feel about movies and violence, and at least in my case, entertainment and violence. It's like kind of like all of it, and it all gets thrown into that fucking lump. Anything else like that, or shall we move on to the awards?
Let's move on. I think we've covered our thoughts on society and violence, which is not where I expected to go tonight, but it's Death Wish. I should have.
Yeah, and in all fairness, this film does try really hard to talk about that, which I'll get into later during our awards, actually. But with that said, first up, Zack Snyder, the worst scene. What you got?
This was hard because there's not really a lot of bad scenes in the movie. It's a pretty well constructed film, I gotta say. Mm-hmm. There's one moment where I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, what is this, Family Guy? It was when Bruce Willis, I don't remember his character's name. I'm going to call him Bruce Willis. He's been playing Bruce Willis for 30 years now. He tracks down the warehouse, or the liquor store where all the stolen goods are stored, and he takes on the fish because his name's Carp. Get it? And the guy gets the drop on him. He's about to shoot him, and somebody, like one of them, knocks a bowling ball off the wall, and it rolls onto the guy's head. He falls into Bruce Willis, who grabs his gun, shoots the guy in the head. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? A Rube Goldberg bowling ball? That's how this guy goes out? I thought that was so stupid.
No, yeah. It's fine because like I thought like the deaths that happened later were like really inventive, especially one particular one involving a car.
Yeah.
Like but yeah, I mean this one, it didn't bug me as much, but I see where you're coming from. It in this case of like Family Guy, or even like it's kind of on my mind because they announced that there's a new one coming out finally. Almost Final Destination to me. But like all this other shit happens that leads ultimately to the death. But whereas Final Destination literally built its franchise off that ideal, I can see where like this feels out of place to you in here.
Yeah, it was like there was no logical way for Bruce to get out of that, and so they just figured out like, oh, maybe God owes him a favor. Yeah, that was dumb.
Okay. Mine, I'm with you. It's kind of hard because I was like, this is actually pretty like construction wise, like this is a very well constructed film. Like, but I went for one thing that just kind of felt random and like it will lead ultimately to my towards the end of my awards here, ultimately what I'm kind of getting at. But something that like to me hammered home way too hard on the social commentary, and that's shortly after the funeral for his wife. Bruce Willis is in the car with I think his father-in-law. And randomly, as they're conversing, he turns off to the side of the road onto what I'm assuming is his property, because they talk about it, and runs these poachers off who were revealed to be fucking hunting a deer. And I'm from Texas. You don't need a poached deer, by the way. Like, they're plentiful, and there's a hunting season, and you can usually hunt as much as you fucking want because those things breed like track rabbits. Um, so that first off threw me off. I'm like, are they even poaching for a fucking deer? That's weird. And not even a buck. It's a fucking doe. It has no antlers. I have a lot of issues with what they were poaching. First off, and second off, like, it just led to like a scene that to me was way too on the nose with like what he was trying to, his commentary on the film. It was like way too on the nose in this point.
I forgot about that scene. I figured that was going to lead into something, and it never did, and it just kind of left my mind. Because there's a scene a lot like that in the original that leads to him learning how to shoot a gun. So I thought that's where they were going to go, but it just ends with him being like, if you want to protect your family, you got to you got to do it yourself, and then killing the deer. Like, okay, not exactly subtle. And yeah, it was weird to see like poachers. I didn't quite, I didn't know that happened in in the United States. I think poacher, I immediately think like the savannah going after lions and shit.
Yeah, not after a fucking doe. Like, not for those who may not be as savvy. I'm not trying to say you're dumb, but female deer. I know this way too well growing up in Texas, and fucking deer season was like one of the like Friday night football. Deer season and Friday night football. Oh God.
But yeah, I get why you'd pick that. It's out of place. It's weird. I don't know why Dad was just driving around with his shotgun in the front seat. Like almost like he was expecting this.
Yeah, like he was like, shit, not again.
He didn't have a reaction. He had more of a like, oh, here we go kind of reaction to it. Like, finally, something to hunt. Like,
I'm gonna get those kids. I'm gonna get those kids this time.
It was so strange. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah. It actually was hard, but that scene was just way too out of place for me. Our next one, which mainly was also kind of hard for me, but I found some stuff. The Ed Wood worst line or lines.
I only have one. And it's 100% from delivery. Bruce, goddamn it. His wife was just killed. His daughter's in a coma. I assume if that happened to me, I'd be a little sniffly, little miffed, little PO'd, something. I wouldn't be a goddamn statue.
A little miffed, just a bit like, man,
just a smidge. A smidge bothered. I feel like now,
like
yeah,
minor, like it's a major inconvenience to your day. Like, God damn it!
Now I don't get to go bowling tonight. God damn it! I had stuff going on. Anyway, Bruce looking at his daughter in the coma, who also just comes out of the coma like super ready to go, which was a little weird.
I have more on that one in my line, so I know what you mean.
Well, he's looking at her. He goes, "Look what these animals did to my baby," but not with as much conviction as I just gave it. So yeah, that was like, I wrote that down. Like, buddy, come on, is this the first take? And Bruce said no second takes.
I told you I approved this script, which means I approve that take.
The most
I was thinking of my 5 daughters. You son of a bitch. That's the best you get from me.
There was a do you remember Between Two Ferns?
Yeah.
Bruce Willis did one, and Zach Galifianakis said the funniest shit I've ever heard said to Bruce Willis. He said, "Where do you keep your Oscar?" Oh no, wait, I'm sorry. Your Blockbuster Entertainer of the Year award. Where do you keep that? And this reminds me, that's why you don't have an Oscar, Bruce.
You've had it all, Bruce, and then fucking apparently divorcing Demi Moore really fucked things up for you.
I feel like life and Bruce Willis fucked things up for Bruce Willis, but whatever you may think.
Bruce Willis, just Bruce Willis is when he wants to Bruce Willis. I don't know why I just said that, but
that made some weird sort of sense to me.
Kind of did. I was like, I don't know if it's gonna make sense or not, but it kind of did. I had two lines. I found two. The first one is actually going back to the poaching scene, and it's because when he said, I was like, well, no shit, dude. And that's when the father-in-law goes, police arrive only after the crime has taken place. And I kind of sat there for a minute and went, I mean, well, yeah, they're not magical. They don't know when every crime's happening. You have to call them. So then they can go take care of it after. That's literally their job, you dumbass.
This is not Minority Report. We're not psychic. We don't have psychic officers. Like, yeah, it sucks, but that's the way of the world.
Yeah. And even then, let's really look at this. He's basically telling Bruce Willis to like take it into your own hands after it's already happened, though. So by taking it into your own hands, you're theoretically still doing it after the crime has taken place. Henceforth, just let the police do their fucking job.
No one was killed. There would be no need for revenge. That's how it works. Like, why is this presented as some profound notion?
Yeah. If there was no crime, there would be no police anyway. So, and again, I don't know if you know how they work. You have to call 911 generally after the crime has happened, or if it's something like, like a break-in, right? And you're in your house and you're hiding as it's happening, and the police will respond. They don't just go, my police senses are tingling. I have to go take care of this crime I think it's about to happen.
That'd be awesome, but no.
No. So that was my first one, just because I was like, that was a dumb line. My second one goes back to what you were saying about her in the coma. So as I was watching, I was looking at like the line. I was like, is there anything? I wonder if there's going to be anything else that actually makes it to my first line. Then this happened. And like you said, she gets out of her coma. She seems apparently perfectly fine. They're having dinner one night. Good old Bruce, his daughter, and D'Onofrio, Kingpin himself, just not Kingpin yet, all having dinner. And he asked her, as the loving uncle he is, like how she's doing. And she says this line right here. I just have to learn how to do basic things again. Now, not theoretically a terrible line to say in the moment, right? She says that, but then literally a scene later, within the same night after they've had dinner, because we established that he left afterwards, she's doing basic things already. She's not learning how to do them. She's literally doing them. She's walking around. She's shutting doors. She helps Bruce Willis move a piece of furniture to hide.
She says she's taking like online classes. Like, your cognitive functions are probably fine if you're taking college level online courses.
Yeah. So it's a line that in the moment is not bad, but then if you really look at like what she does after, what she's already doing, you're like, no, that's a terrible line. You're already you can do basic things, right? What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's a good call.
It almost escaped, and then when I started doing all that shit, I was like, no, you're not learning. You're doing basic things. Like, no, it looks like no one's wiping your ass. Like, I think you're fine. Get out there, champ.
How did she end up in the coma again? Because she wasn't shot.
It's never really explained.
They said something about her spine, but she never seems to have any spinal problems.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's flimsy at best.
She tripped and her plot armor knocked her out. Like, what happened? It's just weird.
This is why these directors probably want to do a rewrite. I'm just gonna throw that out there. They probably went, well, okay, we need to rewrite that part because there's not a whole lot of explaining why she's in a coma, and then you have this fucking line, but her doing stuff afterwards. But Bruce was like, no, keep it.
If you're a director on one of his films and you say the word rewrite 3 times, Bruce Willis will appear and fire your ass. It's in his contract.
Did you hear about the Razzie thing where he got his own category this year? Because he literally started like 8 shitty films in 1 year.
Yeah.
And then someone did like the total screen time on each movie was like 15 minutes.
Jesus Christ.
Like,
is he even an actor anymore? He's a glorified extra at this point.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. You're paying like $15 million for set dressing. Oh my God.
God. His 5 daughters have more talent, and I didn't even think Rumor Willis was that great in what I've seen her in. Which leads me to my next award, and I feel like this is gonna be a perfect segue for you because I got a feeling how you put. I know I went out of the box for mine. I'll explain why. The Steven Seagal, the verse performance.
It's Bruce. Of course, it's Bruce.
Yeah, I knew. That's why I said I was like, this is gonna be a nice segue because I know who you picked.
He's a terrible presence. I don't buy it. He always has this like vaguely constipated look on his face. Like he had some bad shrimp, but he doesn't want to yell cut because that means extra work for him. It's just anyway. Yeah, he's yeah.
You know what's funny?
What?
When I watched the lone actual behind the scene bonus feature on my Blu-ray, because I like to do that for this stuff if I own the movie, which you would think for a show beyond the bat, I don't. I own a lot of films, so he's on that. He actually does talk about the film, but obviously it's Eli Roth. Eli Roth sounds generally excited and like, hey, this is what I did to make this different and why I added this. And like he is engaged. Willis just kind of sits there and goes like, yeah, I read the script and it was pretty good and I wanted to be in. I'm like, oh my God, even in the bonus features, it looks like it hurts you to have to sit down and talk about the fucking movie. You son of a bitch.
I feel like in like 2005, Bruce Willis was abducted by aliens. And to make sure nobody noticed, they replaced him with as good of a lookalike as they could figure out. Because like after Sin City, he's a different man. It's so weird.
Even like the Die Hard franchise, man. Like I remember watching Live Fear. Die Hard could be like really engaged with his performance in that one. Like he seemed to really like being in there and like enjoyed playing the role. And then A Good Day to Die Hard, it looks like he fucking hates being in every second of that film. And I'm like, what happened? I'm like, don't get me wrong. Like I think that's a terrible movie, but your performance could have helped, especially because this is your character, man.
Yeah. A little care goes a long way towards endearing yourself with the audience. And in this film, I just don't buy a second of his grief, of his anger. I mean, there's a moment when he tracks down the guy and he's like, you stole my shit. Oh yeah. And you killed my wife. Like he forgot for a second why he's doing this.
He forgot to read the script that day.
Oh, so yeah, I knew it was always going to be Bruce. I feel like it's going to be Bruce a lot in the future of this show.
It will be. But with that said, I went outside the box. I was like, we can't both say Bruce Willis because I was like, I did have him down. And I know, now hear me out. I also had written down Dean Norris and Vincent D'Onofrio. Hear me out. Hear me out. I am ultimately going to go with Vincent D'Onofrio. I did. And that's because it just seems off. Like his characterization doesn't exactly work. Like it's very vague on what the fuck he did, like why he's a fuck up, like all that's vague. And I just feel like he didn't have a lot to work with, and it creates a slightly off performance. I think D'Onofrio does do his best for what he has. I just don't feel like he's on his A game in this, like he is in other shit I've seen him in.
I don't think this man's ever not been on his A game, but it does. I see, after hearing about what you told me about the script and how for some reason it was Joe Carnahan's word was ironclad here. I would say it seems like D'Onofrio was supposed to be the bad guy. Like he's hard up for cash. He's a little resentful of his wealthy brother. Maybe he hired these guys to rob the house while they were gone. Shit got out of hand. They got killed. That's where I thought this was going.
Yeah.
But that never happened. So it does feel weird that like the D'Onofrio red herring is just kind of there.
Yeah. And then like the way he treats the cops, again, we don't have like an exact reason why he's even like the cops like that. And it just all it does is create more of a red herring. Like, why are you being such a dick to the cops? Like, that doesn't help you look like you're not a fucking suspect, man. So it's just like that's why I say like I get it. I'm not. This is probably gonna be my weirdest pick, and since I really tried going outside of the box, because also why I had to notice because I felt like his cop was weird. Like when he should be being a little more like cool with Bruce Willis about what's going on and like sympathize. He says dumb shit like just gotta have faith and shit like that. I'm like, it's not helping, dude. Like, so that's why I had them kind of listen, and I also went with D'Onofrio just because like the characterizations are so fucking weird on them. And they are trying. I'm not going to take that from them. It didn't work for me.
I can understand that. And I think the direction, like kind of tricking us with D'Onofrio was odd.
Yeah, especially because like they want that, but they also want to go down and say like he's a really like generally good uncle that loves his niece. And it's like, all right, you can't have both. Like, which one is it? Is he just like a really good uncle that's having hard times?
See, or I feel like you can do both because you can't have him like love them, but also, fuck this up.
Or a better script, you can do both. That's why I should say a rewritten script probably could have done both.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Carnahan's word was law. So okay.
Yeah. And also when we get to this next category, I'll kind of show you why I also think like, yes, they could have had both if they cut down a certain other thing that I don't think really worked, but we'll get into that here in a minute. So yeah, for me, I know kind of out of the box, but Vincent D'Onofrio, purely because of trying with not very good material. Like I said, should have been rerun, worked out better. With that said, the Michael Bay first filmmaking decision.
And initially, I did have the D'Onofrio red herring because I thought, like, why pull us in that direction if you're never going to make good on it? But the more the movie went on, the more like I can't get over this. They should not have cast Bruce Willis.
You're really going hard.
Bruce Willis is 100% the worst decision they made in this film, especially looking at the list of way better names they had in mind. Some of which I'm sure would have been cheaper. This is the guy they went with, and he obliterates this thing. He doesn't give a fuck, which makes me not give a fuck. And it just collapses in on itself. And yeah, I think with a better lead, we could have had a better movie. And even then, I don't hate this.
No, I mean, and like I said, like this, I would say is like dipping your toes into like bad Willis films because he's done far worse films and performances in this. Like even more, if you think he's boring in this, guys, oh boy, you haven't seen anything yet. There's a lot of not giving a shit films he did. But for me, something that kind of goes back to what we talked about during our production stuff, and that was trying to fit in social commentary on gun violence and Americans and the media fascination with gun violence, because it to me slows the pacing down a lot throughout the film. It's like it takes away from the main plot that I care about, which is him getting revenge on his family. Because around that we have to constantly have these cutaways to them talking about vigilantism and, is that something we need in America? Is it good? Is it bad? We have that quick scene where that dude tries it and then gets killed, and the cops are having to deal with it. And it's like there were times where I'm like, you could have shaved like 20, 30-ish minutes at a tight hour and a half film that just focused on Bruce Willis, his family, the inciting event, and then him getting revenge. It's just a lean, down, dirty film, getting to the point of it without also throwing all this shit on that. now in hindsight, obviously, because of how people react to the film and critics react to the film, it's just weird to watch now because you see what critics are saying, and then you see what the film's trying to do. It's like, it's this weird fucking thing.
That didn't bother me that much because that is the entire point of the original film is gun violence in America. Like, that's what Death Wish is built on. So I think not including that would have been disingenuous.
Well, I think had they found a better way to include it without cutting away to those things so much, like by making it more on that main plot, and this is kind of goes back to what you're saying, in a better actor, we could have seen the deterioration of his character, and that would have been, to me, a better way to tackle the gun violence stance and like what can happen when you go down that route, what happens to you as a human. But I think for me, it was like constant cutting away to the radio shows and literally talking about it, or like that fucking poacher scene where it's like they're almost fucking taking a hammer and hitting you on the head with it, like, yeah, see, look. And it's like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like find a more subtle way with it that also gets the main plot moving.
I gotcha. Subtlety has gone out the window in film at some point in the past 10 years. I don't know when it happened, but we're unable to tell a hidden message anymore. Now it's like, a movie like Death Wish where it's like, hey, you got to take care of your own, in case you weren't listening. Now watch me shoot this deer in the face. Like, you need that. Like, they need that, or else people are going to think like they're not getting the message.
Right. They need a scene where they're kind of a radio host, I think a real life Chicago radio host, going, oh, what do you think about the vigilantism in America? Well, it's a white guy doing things in black. And it's like, okay, like, cut all that shit out and just find a way to make it work within the main plot of the story.
See, that exact phrase in the original movie where they're talking at a party about, like, he only goes after black people more. He's like, no, he's going after criminals more. It's not, doesn't like the race doesn't matter. Like, but that comes up.
You said right there, it's part of the plot of the film where they're at a party, and it's story progressing while still having your point made. Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, I agree. I think a better actor could have conveyed those emotions a bit more, seeing him go from family man to vigilante instead of just Bruce Willis to Bruce Willis.
Yeah, because I feel like and I doubt it's because of Bruce Willis, but it's almost like because he wasn't showing the emotions, they put that shit in, so then the point could get across for people. Like, well, shit, he's not showing us. Let's fucking put this shit in so people get it.
I love the idea that they can't tell Bruce Willis to act better, so they just create new shit for the movie to do his job. That makes perfect sense to me. I can't confirm that happened, but I would believe you if you told me it happened.
So, yeah, I guess I can kind of see that happening. But yeah, to clarify, I'm absolutely okay with, and this is a film by all means, and like I said, the original tackles it too. Well, yes, having that talk about gun violence and the media fascination, absolutely put in the film, and I totally get that. I would have preferred personally, this is just me being me, a more subtle approach where we had a better actor that would have helped show that through his character, through the story at hand, move the plot so it doesn't feel like it's dragging as much, maybe add some more villains, because only hunting down like 3 in an almost 2-hour film does kind of make it drag, because you got to take out the setup of the family and all this other shit they got to do to get you invested. Things like that, and then like having like you said, like a scene where there's a party with characters that we're following anyway, and they start having this discussion about like, oh, have you heard about this guy in the news and blah blah blah, right? Things like that to still get your point across, but also get the movie, the plot line moving along as well.
Yeah, fair enough. Very good.
So now that we've given our awards, where Connor really went hard on Bruce Willis, and probably won't be the first time. Let's do our silver lining, which I feel like I would say actually wasn't really that difficult for me. In this, because I remember watching this going, actually, even before I watched it, I was like, because I had seen it once already. Me being my Roth fan, so I had already written mine down. But before I talk about mine, Connor, what was your silver lining?
My silver lining is a hot take, and it's probably going to irritate some people.
Oh boy.
It does a lot of things better than the original movie. I think the story is better. I think the fact that he actually goes after the guys who attacked his family instead of just forgetting about them and not bothering with it is much better, a lot more satisfying. I thought the attack sequence on the family was better in this one. You actually like you feel something, you get to know them a bit more. In the original, it's just gross. It's just grisly and gross. They break into the house, they kick the shit out of the mom, and they rape the daughter into being catatonic. Like it's vicious as fuck. So at least in this one, they fight back, and you get a little bit more agency with them. Also, the cop, Dean Norris, I thought did a great job. Better than I thought than Vincent Gardenia, who played him in the original one, who just has a cold the whole time and doesn't really care about solving this. So there's a lot. I think the soundtrack was pretty bitchin'. AC/DC's Back in Black. You can throw that in any movie and I'll be on board. I just felt that this movie had more to offer in terms of story. And I understand why people like the original Death Wish. Charles Bronson, cool, I guess. He's crazy, but he's cool.
Very loyal following.
Oh, yeah, big time.
My grandma was a fan, apparently. So
nice. I just think that Eli Roth and Joe Carnahan had a better handle on the story they wanted to tell using this film. So that's my silver lining. Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. And that, I've always really liked. I feel like Joe Carnahan's super underappreciated. Yeah. And a movie like this lends really well to his writing style. And again, Eli Roth was able to bring a little bit of himself into this film, and do what he could to make it his own. He kind of came in late. He couldn't do anything about the script. Bruce Willis wanted to keep it. But he was able to work with what he had to at least get a very competently made film that, to me, like I said, I don't think should be hated as much as it is. You can tell these are guys that like the original film quite a bit and wanted to lend their voice to it and try to make it a film that works in a more modern time.
Yeah, true.
So for me, and this one, I feel like you're probably gonna go of course. The gore and the carnage candy that is in this film. We live in a time where it seems like so many studios are so scared to do R-rated films. I mean, Jesus Christ, Deadpool had to be a success to prove that he could make an R-rated superhero film, for Christ's sakes. Yeah. That's insane to me that they had to fucking prove that. Because if anyone doesn't know, Ryan Reynolds had a fight to keep that rating. They were adamant he'd make it PG. He fought them hard. So the fact that this was rated R, they stuck to their guns and they made it gory. They put as much carnage as they can. You see blood when people get shot. Love it. Like I said, the fucking car scene where you see the car fall on the dude's head. Yeah. Look, if you're going to make a film, any kind of revenge film, right? Rape revenge, this type of revenge. If there's one thing I feel like you should always do is show the motherfuckers that did this horrendous crime, whether it's kill someone, rape, whatever they fucking did, really get theirs in the most graphic way possible. That's always what I love about these films, is seeing that part. And when they get the the revenge part and we see it in gory, I fucking love it. So I'm glad he stuck to his guns and did that, especially being Roth. This is a guy that's made a name for himself with extreme gory American horror films, and to see him be able by the studio to indulge and do it was awesome.
Yeah, I had a feeling you were going there. That we went this long without talking about a dude getting his skull crushed by a car. It was coming up.
Oh, I was saving it. He gets his skull crushed after Willis is cutting off apparently this a nerve on his leg, and then tells him apparently the shit he's dumping on him is the most painful thing a human can take without passing out. And I'm I don't want to know how painful that is. If that's literally the one thing you can take right before you finally pass out from pain, fuck that.
Yeah, don't piss off a doctor because they can keep you alive.
Do horrendous shit to you.
Yeah. That was a good call. the original's gore is quite tame by today's standards, but I guess in 74, this was an outrageous film. You don't see much, honestly.
Yeah, in 74, so.
Well, I mean, Last House on the Left came out in 72, so I don't know if you can use that as an excuse.
This is true, too.
So yeah, there it is. If we were rating them, I would probably give this a 7.
Yeah, I would actually concur and give this a 7. It's like I said, it's fine. Like I said, for me, like the biggest thing is what I mentioned in the first film. That's actually really the biggest thing for me is like, had they found a better way to do that, and obviously an actor that could support my idea of how they should approach it would be the biggest thing helping. But apparently, once you get Bruce Willis locked into a script he likes, you got Bruce Willis locked into a script he likes, and there's nothing that can change that.
Who would have thought the hot button issue with this guy would be rewrites? But then again, this feels like the kind of guy who would quit the film if they didn't have his favorite kind of cheese at the craft services table. So,
dude, when I was doing my research on this and I read that, I'd stopped. I was like, we really didn't get Carnahan able, or not Carnahan, but those two directors left because Willis approved the script, and MGM was like, no, we have to abide by what he approves. We cannot change a thing.
I wonder if this was the last time they tried. Was this like I guess now Glass was probably Willis's last high profile gig.
Yeah, I'll say Glass.
Yeah. And that failed too. I think they've given up on trying to, use Bruce Willis as your marketing tool.
Yeah, audiences don't care to see a guy that's clearly bored in everything he does.
Especially when you got James McAvoy delivering the performance of his career over there.
Yeah. James McAvoy's like, you want me to do even more personalities? Hold my beer.
Can I look at the script and rewrite accordingly? Done. Oh, yeah.
What if he said that in front of Bruce Willis and then just looked at him like a smirk?
How much do I want? $4 million for 4 days work. How much do you want, Bruce?
Yeah, Bruce, what would you like? And then they ask, do you like the script? And he's like, yes, but are we able to do rewrites? Yeah, of course. Interesting. What do you think, Bruce?
Oh, God. I don't want to say he's a joke, but he's at least a riddle.
On that note, let's go to our next segment and find out what's in the box.
What's in the fucking box? Give me the gun.
This is almost the most well-reviewed film we've covered yet. Showgirl still holds that record somehow. 2.6 out of 5 stars. So terrible, but not as terrible as I expected to see. I have 5 hilarious Letterboxd reviews here.
I'll say again, 71%, but no, it's on in theaters. Tread over again. I really like Tread. So it's like Tread over again, but I actually really wanted a sequel to that. So fuck all you guys. Go on.
I understand. Number 1, this is from Barris. Meh. 3 stars. That's it. Meh.
He took the time.
Yeah, he took time out of his day, out of our day, to type this, post it. Was it worth it?
It's almost like the movie itself. He was like, good enough.
Number 2, this is from Nas Bacon Sandwich. Some of these I do pick just for the name. Watching Bruce Willis look up how to shoot a gun on YouTube, then killing people isn't that different to how I looked up how to repair my PS4 on YouTube, then sold it to my brother. 1 star.
You did that. I was like, where's this going? I, I fixed my PS4 and sold it to my brother. Oh, you're a nicer brother than I would have sold my brother a fucking broken PS4 and been like, hey, you gotta fix it, dude.
This is from Seth's Films. I think I put on the wrong version of Home Alone. 1 star.
That's so weird that he put okay. That's something I would expect to see on a movie like Better Watch Out.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that, but I know about that one.
It was a pretty good movie. I liked it.
This is from somebody I forgot to write down. I remember a kill with a car and Bruce Willis not giving a shit. That's all I remember. 2 stars. I don't think any phrase has better described this film. Guy gets killed with a car, Bruce Willis doesn't give a shit. There you go. Death Wish.
Got it. Which, by the way, that guy could have moved in time. Bruce Willis took a long time to get ready to take the car down.
It reminded me of that scene in Austin Powers where the guy's about to get hit by the steamroller and he's just screaming at it from like a room away. And this last one is my personal favorite from Widowria. I called Bruce Willis a baldy and my mom got really pissed. 3.5 stars.
There's so much stories to that I need to know.
Yeah, Bruce still has fans out there. Legions, apparently.
It's the people that really hold on to Die Hard, I think.
Yeah. They should check out Death Wish. That is all for what's in the box.
It's a good one. I like how they wrote just short. I think there's a car. Bruce Willis didn't give a shit. So I think that was one of my favorite.
I find the shorter ones are the funnier ones. When people go on a diatribe for like 3 pages, I don't want to read it.
Yeah. There's a certain, like, you can go long, but there's a certain point where it loses funniness.
Yeah, I agree.
So, all right. Well, this has been a fun episode of inducting Bruce Willis into his first of probably many films in this episode, in this show.
You're damn right.
It's gonna pop up a lot. But before I reveal what next week's episode is, social media. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram under Filmgazm Productions. If you would like to shoot us a recommendation, feel free to email us at filmgazm@gmail.com. Can't promise I'll put those recommendations on immediately, but I will see what I can do with the schedule at hand. If you'd like to donate in any way, you don't have to, if you want to, and support, you can find us on Anchor. Also, finally, feel free to get on our website. All you want, filmgazm.com. You can check out reviews, trailers, articles, and all of our episodes uploaded on there. I know this past weekend we've uploaded quite a bit of reviews. I know myself, I was catching up with some horror films I've been meaning to see, and the reviews found their way to the site. Most good, couple of duds, but most good. That's our way. Let's talk about what's coming up. For our show next week, we are going to discuss the beginning of the end for many of Batman fans. Until, Batman Begins came out. But what was the beginning for them? And that would be Batman Forever. Val Kilmer is making his long-awaited return to Beyond the Bat. This time he's a star. Just the way he likes it.
It only took, 3 episodes for Val Kilmer to show up again?
Crushing it, Val. I'm proud of you.
Oh, can't wait to get back into this monster's head. It's going to be Batman all 4 shows next week. So buckle up.
Buckle up, buckaroos. On Filmgazm, like you were saying, though, we'll be talking about the one that started it all. That time fans were happy. And that is Michael Keaton's Batman. I won't say 1989, but I actually did not look the year up, so
That's correct.
Yes. Okay, 1989's Batman. Michael Keaton, the one that started it all for a lot of people, myself included, and the Batman we're getting back this year. So, in 2 films, actually, which I was surprised to hear, but bring it on. On this Oscar Sunday, I know we just said Batman week, but this Oscar Sunday coming up, we'll be talking about, I won't be talking about it, but Connor and Austin will be talking about the Spike Lee classic Do the Right Thing. So, join them for that. And then finally, on sneak preview, we'll be talking about a horror film I never thought I'd talk about in my life, starring the Foo Fighters, Studio 666. I don't mean that in a negative way, but had you told me at one point in my life there'd be a Foo Fighters horror film, I would have laughed in your fucking face. Especially if all that it's directed by the guy that did Hatchet 3. I'd be like, okay, what the fuck's going on here?
Yeah, this is unexpected. There's not a lot of rock band, horror movies with an actual rock band. So this ought to be something unique and maybe start a trend if this is successful.
Yeah, who knows? I definitely was not expecting this. But it's not the only film coming out. Obviously, there's another Shudder release that I'll be discussing called Hellbenders, and then on Hulu, their horror film No Exit, which we've talked about, looks pretty interesting. I'm definitely going to check it out because I'm interested to see what they're going to do with that. But that's what's happening over the next week on our shows. With that said, until then, if you find yourself in a scenario where your house is broken into and your loved ones are killed, first off, I'm sorry to hear that happened to you. Second off, just have faith. The police will do their job.
Yeah. And don't hire Bruce Willis.
Yeah, he won't care. He won't demand a rewrite of the script because he'll be locked in. See y'all next week on Beyond the Bed.